At first glance, Tennessee and Missouri feel almost interchangeable. They are both border states, caught between North and South during America's most defining conflict. Both are shaped by rivers that determined where people settled and how economies grew. Both are pulled between competing regional identities that never fully resolved. Both are deeply tied to American expansion, serving as launching points for westward movement. If you've driven through both, they even look similar in places. The rolling hills, the small towns, the mix of rural farmland and scattered urban centers. But that surface similarity hides something important. Tennessee and Missouri don't just differ in minor ways. They represent two completely different strategies for how American states handle pressure, identity, and power. One state chose visibility, the other accepted invisibility. One state branded itself aggressively, the other let itself fade into function. One state turned pain into product, the other just endured. These are not small distinctions. They are fundamental divergences that explain why Tennessee commands national attention while Missouri gets overlooked, even though Missouri arguably matters more to how America actually works. Today, we're breaking down why Tennessee and Missouri feel similar, but aren't. By the end, you'll never confuse them again. If this channel helps you see past surface similarities to understand what's actually happening, subscribe to Hard Truth Untold. We explain why things look the same until you look closer. Both were border states, but only one chose a side. Tennessee and Missouri both occupied the painful middle ground during the Civil War, but they handled that position completely differently. Tennessee made a clean break. After initial hesitation, Tennessee seceded. It committed to the Confederacy. It fought, lost, and then rebuilt around the identity that emerged from that choice. The decision was costly. Tennessee saw more Civil War battles than any state except Virginia. The destruction was immense, but the commitment was clear. Missouri never made that clean break. Missouri stayed in the Union, officially, but the reality was far messier. Pro-Confederate guerrillas operated throughout the state. Neighbor fought neighbor. The violence was not army against army, it was community against community. Missouri had a government in exile that claimed Confederate allegiance, while the official state government remained Union. Two governments, two loyalties, one fractured population. This was not fence sitting out of cowardice. Missouri was genuinely, deeply split. The state's population included abolitionists and slaveholders, Union loyalists and Confederate sympathizers, often living in the same counties. The war did not clarify Missouri's identity. It shattered it further. Tennessee emerged from the war with a clear narrative. We fought, we lost, we rebuilt. That narrative, however complicated its relationship with historical truth, provided a psychological foundation. Missouri emerged with no such clarity. The war left wounds that never became stories, divisions that never resolved into identity, pain that never transformed into meaning. That single difference, the choice versus the fracture, shaped everything that followed. Tennessee could move forward because it had a past it understood, even if that understanding was selective. Missouri carried an unresolved past that made forward movement perpetually complicated. Both states sit on major rivers, but they used them differently. Geography gave both states rivers, but geography does not determine destiny, choices do. Missouri was defined by movement through it. The Mississippi River forms Missouri's eastern border. The Missouri River cuts across the entire state. These were not just waterways, they were America's original interstate highways. St. Louis became the gateway to the West not because it was a destination, but because it was a departure point. People came to St. Louis to leave St. Louis. The city's identity was built on facilitating movement elsewhere. The rivers turned Missouri into a corridor, a place you passed through on the way to somewhere more important. Tennessee used rivers differently. The Mississippi also touches Tennessee, anchoring Memphis. The Tennessee and Cumberland rivers flow through the state's interior, but Tennessee used rivers to anchor cities, not just pass traffic. Memphis became a cotton hub, a music center, a cultural force. Nashville grew along the Cumberland into a capital that commanded attention. These were not waypoints, they were destinations. The rivers supported settlement, not just transit. Missouri moved America. Tennessee settled into it. This distinction matters psychologically. When your identity is built on movement, you are always transitional. When your identity is built on place, you accumulate meaning. Missouri helped America expand west. Tennessee became part of what America was expanding into. One role is essential but forgettable. The other builds lasting identity. Missouri became a gateway, and Tennessee became a destination. This river dynamic extended into a broader identity. Missouri was the place people passed through on the way west. The Oregon Trail started from Missouri. The Santa Fe Trail started from Missouri. The California Gold Rush funneled through Missouri. For decades, if you were going west, you went through Missouri first. This made Missouri economically vital. Outfitters, suppliers, traders, entire industries grew around serving people who were leaving. But gateways have a psychological problem. They are defined by what lies beyond them. No one remembers the door. They remember where the door led. Missouri facilitated some of the most important migrations in American history, but the stories are about where people went, not where they started. Tennessee took a different path. Tennessee was not on the way to anywhere. It was somewhere. People moved to Tennessee with the intention of staying. They cleared land, built farms, established communities, and rooted. The difference between passing through and settling creates fundamentally different cultures. Transient places develop cultures of efficiency and function. What do you need? How can we get you moving? Next, settlement places develop cultures of permanence and meaning. Who are we? What do we believe? What is our story? Gateways rarely get credit for what they enabled. Destinations build the identities that get remembered. Missouri enabled American expansion more than almost any state. Tennessee gets remembered while Missouri gets overlooked. Function versus meaning. Efficiency versus identity. Gateway versus destination. Section 4. Tennessee centralized its culture. Missouri never did. Tennessee built cultural gravity. Look at how Tennessee concentrated its identity. Nashville became the capital, not just politically but culturally. Music City, the center of country music, a brand recognized worldwide. Memphis anchored the western part of the state with its own powerful identity. Blues, Beale Street, civil rights history, the legacy of Elvis, and so much more. Two cities, clear roles, concentrated power. Missouri split its weight. St. Louis dominated the eastern half. Kansas City dominated the western half. Rural Missouri pulled in its own directions, often feeling disconnected from either urban center. No single city spoke for Missouri. No single narrative emerged. St. Louis and Kansas City are not just different cities, they are different cultures, different orientations, different relationships with their surrounding regions. St. Louis looks east, toward the old industrial Midwest. Kansas City looks west, toward the plains and beyond. Rural Missouri looks inward, skeptical of both. This fragmentation is not failure. It is just reality. Missouri's geography and history created multiple centers that never consolidated. But centralization creates narrative clarity. Fragmentation creates confusion. When someone asks what Tennessee is, there are clear answers. Nashville, music. Memphis, BBQ, the Smokies. When someone asks what Missouri is, the answers compete. St. Louis, Kansas City, the Ozarks, the Arch. BBQ, but which city's version? Tennessee tells one story with regional variations. Missouri tells multiple stories that do not quite connect. One approach dominates attention. The other dissipates it. If you appreciate comparisons that go deeper than stereotypes and surface similarities, subscribe to Hard Truth Untold. This channel exists to explain why things feel the same until you look closer. Section 5. Both lost industry, but only one replaced it cleanly. The late 20th century was not kind to either state's industrial base, but they responded differently. Missouri lost factories and logistics power quietly. St. Louis was once a manufacturing giant with beer, shoes, cars, and chemicals. That base eroded over decades. The decline was slow enough to feel like natural fading rather than crisis. St. Louis went from being America's fourth largest city to barely holding on to the top 20. The decline was so gradual that it never became a dramatic story, just a slow diminishment that people accepted. Tennessee experienced losses too. Manufacturing left Tennessee just as it left Missouri. Textile mills closed. Factories relocated. The industrial base that had built middle-class prosperity contracted. But Tennessee responded with aggressive replacement. Nashville became a healthcare hub. HCA and other hospital chains built headquarters there. The music industry professionalized and expanded. Tourism was cultivated deliberately. Nissan and other automakers were recruited to Tennessee with tax incentives and infrastructure investments. Logistics companies recognized Tennessee's geographic centrality. Tennessee did not just accept industrial transition. Tennessee managed it. Missouri absorbed loss. Tennessee pivoted. The results show in the population trends, the economic growth, the national attention. Nashville is now one of America's fastest-growing cities. St. Louis has spent decades trying to stop the bleeding. Both states faced the same forces. One state responded passively, the other responded strategically. 6. Tennessee branded itself. Missouri did not. Tennessee understood something Missouri never fully grasped. In modern America, perception drives reality. Tennessee sold these things. Music, not just as industry, but as identity. Heritage, a relationship with the past that felt accessible. Lifestyle, the promise of a certain kind of experience. Place, the sense that Tennessee is somewhere specific and meaningful. Tennessee marketed itself relentlessly. Nashville became synonymous with country music, then expanded into broader cultural cachet. Memphis sold blues, barbecue, and civil rights history. The state became a brand. Missouri sold these things. Function, we are centrally located. Stability, things work here. Infrastructure, logistics, transportation, distribution. These are valuable things. Businesses need function and stability. But function does not attract attention. Infrastructure does not inspire migration. Nobody moves somewhere for logistics. Branding attracts attention. Function disappears into the background. Tennessee said, "Come here because we are special." Missouri said, "We are useful." Usefulness is appreciated until something more useful comes along. Specialness builds loyalty that transcends function. This is not about Tennessee being objectively better than Missouri. It is about Tennessee understanding that modern economies run on attention, and attention follows narrative, not just utility. Missouri remained useful. Tennessee became valuable. The difference costs Missouri billions in tourism, migration, and investment. Urban power worked differently. Nashville rose fast and visibly. The city's growth over the past 2 decades has been remarkable, with population surging, cranes filling the skyline, and national media attention flooding in. Nashville became America's IT city for a while, the place ambitious young people wanted to be. Nashville didn't just grow. Nashville announced its growth. The city cultivated attention deliberately, welcoming media coverage, courting companies publicly, and building an image of momentum. St. Louis declined slowly and quietly. The population peaked in 1950 and has fallen ever since. But the decline happened in small increments, not dramatic enough for crisis coverage, and not sudden enough to force reinvention. St. Louis became the city of used to be bigger, used to be more important, used to be a rival to Chicago. That narrative is poisonous for growth. Nobody moves to used to be. Kansas City grew, but never dominated the narrative. Kansas City has had real successes. The city has attracted investment, maintained quality of life, and developed genuine cultural offerings. But Kansas City never became the story of Missouri the way Nashville became the story of Tennessee. Tennessee allowed one city to speak for the state. Missouri never crowned one voice. When Nashville succeeds, Tennessee succeeds, in perception if not in every measurable way. When Kansas City succeeds and St. Louis struggles, Missouri's story becomes complicated. The state can't claim clear momentum because the narrative is fractured. Section 8. Tennessee learned to perform. Missouri learned to endure. These differences reflect deeper psychological orientations. Tennessee leaned into performance, culture, tourism, national attention, the spotlight. Tennessee wanted to be seen, wanted to be known, wanted to matter in the national imagination. This is not vanity, it is strategy. In modern America, attention converts to economic advantage. States that get noticed attract migrants, tourists, businesses, and investment. Tennessee pursued attention deliberately and successfully. Missouri leaned into endurance, trade, agriculture, logistics, keeping things running. Missouri is genuinely important to how America functions. The state sits at the intersection of major transportation networks. Agricultural production feeds the nation. Distribution centers move goods across the country. But endurance does not attract attention. Nobody writes glowing profiles about states that keep the lights on. Nobody makes destination lists for logistics hubs. Nobody moves somewhere because the distribution infrastructure is excellent. One state seeks the spotlight, the other keeps the lights on. Both roles are essential. Only one gets celebrated. Tennessee understood that celebration matters, that being seen creates momentum that being useful never provides. Missouri did the work without seeking the credit, and in modern America, credit drives growth while invisible work gets taken for granted. Both states experienced pain, historical trauma, economic hardship, and social division. They processed it differently. Tennessee repackaged suffering into culture. Country music is, at its core, music about pain, heartbreak, loss, hard times, resilience. The genre transforms suffering into art, and art into commerce. Memphis did the same with the blues and with civil rights history. The pain of the past became a product, museums, tours, and experiences that visitors pay to encounter. This is not necessarily cynical. Transforming pain into meaning is a fundamental human process. Tennessee simply did it more explicitly and more profitably than most. The state learned to sell memory. Missouri never commodified its hardship. Missouri's historical trauma, including Civil War violence, border conflicts, and slow industrial decline, never became product. The pain remained pain. The history remained unresolved. There is something perhaps more honest about Missouri's approach. Not everything should be packaged for consumption. Some suffering should just be acknowledged and carried. But honesty does not drive tourism economies. Tennessee turned pain into product. Missouri just lived with it. One approach generates billions in annual revenue. The other generates nothing much visible. 10. Both are misunderstood for opposite reasons. Here is the irony. Tennessee and Missouri are misunderstood, but for completely opposite reasons. Tennessee is oversimplified. People think they know Tennessee, country music, Nashville bachelorette parties, Memphis barbecue, maybe the Smokies. But Tennessee is far more complex than its brand suggests. East Tennessee is Appalachian. Middle Tennessee is Nashville's sprawl. West Tennessee is Delta culture. These regions have different histories, different demographics, different identities. The brand erases complexity. The story simplifies what is actually there. Missouri is ignored. People do not think about Missouri much at all. The state lacks the brand that would create even oversimplified impressions. Missouri is familiar in a way that prevents examination. It is Midwestern. It is normal. It is there. Familiarity does not equal understanding. People assume they know Missouri because it does not seem exotic enough to require investigation. Tennessee gets seen, but not understood. Missouri gets overlooked entirely. Oversimplification and invisibility are both forms of misunderstanding. One creates distortion, the other creates absence. At the deepest level, Tennessee and Missouri represent two different American values. Tennessee sells memory, the past as product, heritage as experience, story as identity. Tennessee offers visitors and migrants a relationship with something meaningful, a connection to music, to history, to place. Memory inspires. It creates emotional attachment. It draws people in. Missouri manages reality, infrastructure, logistics, the unsexy work of keeping systems running. Missouri offers function, not inspiration, not story, but usefulness. Reality sustains. Without Missouri's work, systems fail. Without the logistics, the agriculture, the distribution, America does not operate. But managing reality does not inspire migration or investment. America rewards memory. America takes reality for granted. These two states, superficially similar, reveal something profound about America itself. There are two Americas operating simultaneously. One America wants story, rhythm, and clarity. The other America runs on logistics, compromise, and endurance. One America is visible, celebrated, discussed. The other America is invisible, essential, ignored. Tennessee represents what America likes to see. Missouri represents what America relies on. Tennessee is America's self-image, creative, distinctive, meaningful. Missouri is America's actual infrastructure, functional, compromised, working. Neither is complete without the other, but only one gets attention. Understanding why Missouri and Tennessee diverged helps explain why some states thrive in perception while others do the work without recognition. It's not fair, but it's real. And understanding what's real is the first step towards seeing clearly. If you've lived in either Tennessee or Missouri, did this comparison feel accurate? If you've lived in both, which difference stood out the most? Drop your perspective in the comments. Different experiences help complete the picture. Because the point of this channel is not to have the final word. It is to start the conversations that reveal what surface similarities hide. There is another video on screen right now that breaks down a state people think they understand, but do not. Subscribe to Hard Truth Untold because similarities are easy. Understanding takes work.